You're not going to do it alone. We're going to do it together, collectively. We're going to learn together. We're going to ask questions together. And then we're going to create some really amazing stories all done together as well. So to get started, I just want to make sure that whoever is like in view mode can see my screen because I am going to be sharing some slides as well. So let's use our emoji. Give me like a thumbs up, give me some hearts, or give me something to show that you are able to see my screen. Thank you so much. And also for some of you that are here, please let's use the chat to introduce yourself, to ask some curious questions. I probably will not be able to see the chat 100%, but I do know I have my colleagues here, Anthony, Nelson, also some of my PMWB colleagues as well. So we're all going to be able to support your questions. So let's get started. My focus today is to really talk about PMWB chapter integration. I've created this presentation specifically for this region because I've heard some of your conversations, some of your needs, some of your pain points. So let's go through this. So I'm going to start off by introducing my PMI social impact team. The reason why I want to introduce this team is because I want you all to know that this work is not done alone. No one can really move work alone 100%, right? So this is my PMWB team. Our team is led, actually my PMI social impact team, and our team is led by Ashley Forsett, who's the director of social impact programs at PMI. So from a global perspective, and then we have Julia Adams, who's the manager of PMWB. You have myself. So I am Carol Martinez. I've been with PMI for over 8 years now. I currently support PMWB integration into the chapters. And the regions that I'm supporting currently is Sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America, Europe, MENA, and South Asia. So which means that this work is not only being done with you, it's done throughout all the regions. There's also Laura Davidson, who supports the PMWB Global Program, basically supporting partnerships. So if Laura's here, I'll ask her to introduce herself as well in the chat. And then we have my colleague, who's also my twin in this work, Allison Tidwell as well. So her work is to integrate PMWB into the North America chapters. And then we have our EF team and our administrators as well. So some of you who have supported and are currently supporting EF might know Andrew Whitmire, who's the manager of PMIF, Aisha Beverly, who is the administrator, so supports the board and the EF board primarily. We have Amber and Amber Bushman and Tim Swain, and then we have Rebecca, who manages the social impact coordinator connection of our program. So what are we going to be talking about today? And again, I say the word talking because it's a two-way dialogue, which means that you will speak to me and with me, and then I'll also speak with you as well. So I do want to talk a little bit about why am I here, right? Like, why am I using this time and taking this space from you all to be able to talk about PMWB and its integration? We're going to understand a bit about what is PMWB and what role does it play in social impact. So when we say social impact, you're going to hear PMWB as well. How are chapters delivering measurable impact? So when we say this is, what activities are you all doing? How are you measuring it? How are you documenting it? What does it look like, right? And what are some pain points that we can support with? And then we're also going to have some best practices. So I've asked Collins Ayoto to come along with me on this conversation. We'll wrap up with talking about your next steps and then Q&A as well. So a little bit of history, right? I'm sharing this slide with all of you because I think this is where you all remember social impact at PMI to be, right? It all started with we had Hours for Impact, we had EF chapter liaison, we had an EF logo that was still old, but then we changed it to a new one. And then we had a youth engagement model, which was everything that PMI can throw at anybody who was considered a youth, right? And then within your chapters, you had different chapter titles. So we had youth and social impact coordinators, you had a director of youth and social impact, you had a PMIEF director, a PMIEF liaison. So all of that, I'm going to share with you all that it no longer exists within PMI. All of these naming conventions and all of these names have all been sunsetted. We moved on into a newer model. And the reason why I'm showing this slide is also because we've cleaned up our way of working, right? We've created new versions of, how do we best capture social impact? How do we best elevate our PMI chapter leaders and chapter volunteers? And also, how do we best elevate the work that you're doing? So old model, all of this. New model looks like this. So the new version of social impact as of maybe about 3 years ago when PMI Next was rolled out is really a bit more mainstream, cleaned up, right? Using names that are relatable, using terms that are relatable to the PMI Next strategy, to your outcomes as a chapter, and then to our programmatic outcomes as well. So now, whenever we think of the term social impact coordinator, that social impact coordinator has the title and the name of your chapter. So, for example, if you're from the Ghana chapter, your social impact coordinator should be titled PMI Ghana Chapter Social Impact Coordinator, right? We no longer have EF liaisons, so no one should be having a PMI EF liaison social impact coordinator title. Also, if you have a director of social impact, they should be leading the portfolio of work that embodies all of your social impact work. So again, another name and title alignment. And then also as well, I've seen a lot of chapter email addresses that talk about social good and PMIF liaisons and all of that. Those also are something that we're working to make sure that are updated and aligned to the work that you're truly doing. So if you have any of these naming conventions, right, and if you still feel like you're stuck in this state, please raise your hand, put a conversation in the emoji. Let's get together so we can get you into this newer streamlined way of working. All right. The next piece of this is also, right, chapters we understand are still aligned with their networking activity. So in our social impact space, when we say chapters are still doing social good and networking, that is primarily those everyday, monthly or quarterly or annual activities that you all do in order to bring your members together. And all of those activities are still very much your way of connecting with your community and with your volunteers. So if you're packing food, if you're building bookshelves, if you're collecting books and donating clothes, those are member networking activities. We don't call them social impact. We call them social good because you're doing really good things for your community through your chapter and also again creating some brand visibility. But at the same time, we have seen that some of these opportunities can turn into a social impact activity. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. So if your chapter is doing some really good networking activities or social good activities, please put that in the chat as well, because it'll be really great to hear about those from you. So let's talk about what is social impact at PMI, right? So when you hear the term social impact in your chapter communications, those emails that you receive from your chapter engagement partners, the newsletters, the PMN site, we're really talking about social impact programs which are aligned to PMIEF, which is the Project Management Educational Foundation, or aligned to Project Managers Without Borders, right? So these two are the anchors for what we call social impact within our community of project management, within our PMI Next strategy, and within our ongoing strategy moving forward. So you no longer are going to hear about, again, EF liaisons. We're going to talk about Project Management Educational Foundation, their work with youth ages 14 to 24. Their scope of work is primarily to work with nonprofit integrating project management so that they can support youth, right? Sorry if the slides are not moving, Nancy. I know from my side they're moving, so I'm not sure. Anthony, let me know what you see.
Yes, I can see the slides are moving on my end as well.
Okay.
We're also trying to help some of the volunteers in the back end, those who are not able to see the presentation. So we're just trying to help them. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, great. So what I can do is I can stop sharing and then reshare again. Hopefully that can
Okay.
work.
Yeah.
And also, I think sometimes if you all like come out of the meeting and come back in, that could also work as well. Sharing. All right. So I just stopped sharing. I am gonna share again. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Okay. All right. I am on the PMIEF PMWB slide. Please let me know if you're able to see that.
Yes, we can see.
Awesome. Thank you. Yay, technology works. All right, so going back to the conversation, I do apologize for the technical difficulties. The slide deck will be shared with everybody as well, along with the notes and the recording. So just in case you're missing something. So going back to what does PMI define as social impact? We define the work that PMIEF team is doing with the youth serving nonprofits, and some of you are connected to that work because ideally the PMIEF has a strategy to make sure that they're engaging youth through youth serving nonprofits and making sure that those partnerships and those relationships and the training and the teaching are primarily following that strategy, right? The other side of the strategy is where PMWB comes into play. So our PMWB initiative, brand, and way of working came about recently, actually, about 3 years ago, where Project Managers Without Borders owner and creator and president and CEO Deanna Landers gifted PMWB to PMI so that we can continue to expand the work of project managers with nonprofit organization. So Deanna Landers has an amazing, strong passion for working with nonprofit, but she also saw that nonprofits really needed more project managers to help them align their work, to help them understand how to build structure into the way of working, create better visibility and more impact in their community. So again, if you're working within your chapter to define what your social impact looks like, it should be aligned to one or both of these areas. So talking about PMWB, what is it, right? So again, PMWB, it's an initiative, it's a brand, it's a program. It's all supported by PMI. But the mission of PMWB, or Project Managers Without Borders, is really to partner those volunteer project managers around the world with amazing NGOs or nonprofits that are moving a mission forward. I feel like I'm one of those volunteers because I am partnering with an NGO and really supporting the way that they are planning to do their moving their building and restructuring their floor plan. So when you think of your work and you're working directly with an NGO or a nonprofit, this is basically where Project Managers Without Borders comes into action. So my question to everyone here, please use the chat or raise your hand. Are you currently working supporting an NGO? And can you drop it in the chat? And what is the name of that nonprofit? So the way PMWB works with the way PMWB works within the PMI landscape or within the PMI ecosystem and also PMI strategy is that PMWB is aligned to the mission of PMI Next. And what that means is that PMI Next looks to amplify, right, how project management shows up in all of our ecosystems and all of our community. So PMWB is aligned with that because it believes that project managers can take their superpowers or their powers of knowledge of project management and align it to amazing nonprofits across the world, right? And if each of you are working with a nonprofit currently, that is your superpower, gifting your time and your skills to that NGO. Project Managers Without Borders also has a global footprint. This is where I shared a little bit about my colleague, Laura Davidson, who's primarily working on supporting global nonprofits that are seeking project managers to be able to support them. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. And then we also support them through our relationship with you as chapter leaders as well. So again, making sure that that alignment of PMWB with PMI remains consistent with making sure that we have that global impact. Also, the UN Sustainment Development Goals are aligned to this work. So in my earlier slide, I showed a little bit about Hours for Impact. Hours for Impact got elevated into the work of social impact. So when we talk about PMWB working with and aligning with NGO work, we're talking about how does that work that you're doing with that NGO align with the UN Sustainment Development Goals, right? We're still wanting you all to track your hours, how many volunteers are, supporting your work, what are also, some of the roadblocks or some of the success stories. So again, all of that, just making sure that that alignment remains consistent within our way of working. So we talk about PMWB alone, right? So when we look at the breakdown of how does PMWB do the work that it does, how does it operate, how does it move forward, right? Again, we think about the skill-based volunteering that you're being asked to do when you're supporting an NGO, right? So, and again, aligning that opportunity that you're working on into the UN Sustainment Development Goals. So there's two work streams that PMWB has. One is the PMWB Global Work Stream managed by Laura Davidson. Laura, I don't know if you're on the call, but Laura's work is primarily to make sure that we have those global relationships, those global partners with NGOs, and that they're being supported by our community of project managers. So, for example, if I were to partner, let's say, with the Rotary Club, and the Rotary Club, we know that it's a global entity and they needed project managers, Laura Davidson would reach out to the Rotary and say, "Hi, my name is Laura. This is the work that I do. Please let us know what needs do you have and how can we support that with project managers." So that is the PMWB Global Work Stream. Okay. Questions about that, please post them in the chat. The second work stream is the chapter work stream. So that is the work stream that I support, as well as Allison Tidwell, who's also on this call. So Ali and I are primarily tasked with making sure we look at your social impact activities. We figure out where does PMWB fit? How does it fit into your activities? And then making sure that if you don't have a current social impact activity or PMWB activity, and a PMWB activity, we figure out how to help you align that into the work that you're doing. Because we've learned through our work the last few months that many chapters are working with NGOs. Many chapters do amazing work with NGOs. Someone took over my screen. Sorry about that. Looks like someone took over my screen. Can everybody else still see my presentation?
Yeah, we can see your
I know,
screen.
right? I was like, what happened?
Sorry.
It's so fun.
Sorry about that.
Oh, well, so we know that chapters are doing amazing work with NGO. So part of the reason why we are having this conversation today is because we would like for all of you who are working with NGOs to let us know what type of work that you're doing. How you want to make sure you're documenting the work. And also when you're sitting and doing your annual plans as chapter leaders, that this work is also reflected in there as well. So why nonprofits, right? Why is PMWB solely focused on nonprofit? Because we know, I mean, most of you that are connected to a nonprofit or support a nonprofit, we know that they have limited resources. We also know that either legally or politically, there could be some sort of, barriers that they run into. And sometimes it's just also a nonprofit could be so small. So again, any of those opportunities could present a need. Some nonprofits really need more volunteers, right? They need more people to be able to support the work and move that impact forward. We also know that lots of nonprofits have events where they're fundraising, or if not, they have event planning, and they need that structure. So, this is the reason why we're asking our project management community to step up into these opportunities and help. So, we know that our chapters have the expertise. We've worked with some chapter members that are really good in training, really good in formatting, fundraising opportunities, well versed in planning events and things like that. So these are all, again, your superpowers that you can use to support the nonprofit space. So why should you even bother and care about getting involved with PMWB, right? We understand first and foremost that our chapters, you're the front line of the work that we do. You're the voice, you're the cheerleader, you're the brand ambassador that shows up and talks about project management. You talk about your chapter and you do the good in your community. But we also understand that you all are very stretched and your capacity can also be limited. But at the same time, you have the energy to really make some good impact in your community. So, PMWB, through the work that you all do with NGOs, you're able to make that difference, right? When we think about junior achievement, when we think about the Rotary, when we think about the Scouts or the YMCA, you are all making a difference within your local community. You're also able to develop skills. I've heard of some young project managers or project managers that are looking for hands-on to develop their skills, wanting some opportunities so that they can grow, they can be seen, and they can actually get that visible, tangible project management skills. It's also a good way to expand your chapters, right? Like I sometimes look at the social media and see the amazing work that's happening with the all recruiting new volunteers and new members. So what a way to be able to grow that membership that you have, align the work to the UN SDG, get recognized. So we do want to constantly recognize our chapter leaders, chapter members. I know that Anthony and team are constantly asking, hey, Carol, what are chapters doing so we can recognize them, either at the annual conferences or just local awards. And then we also want to make sure that everyone supporting PMWB work is able to claim PDUs. So 1 hour of your work is equals to one PDU. So this is where I pause and ask temperature check. Because anybody still see my screen, or are we okay? Okay,
We're
great.
good.
Awesome. So how do we apply PMWB process and tools into your work? Right. I created this slide because I know sometimes we can create complexity out of simplicity. So in this case, just a simple a roadmap, right? So we want you to really just map out your social impact work, right? Take a look at what activities do you have going on? Are they PMIF related activity? Are they networking activities? Are they PMWB work where you're working solely with an NGO? So you should have 3 buckets where your social impact work should fall into. And sometimes they can fall into all of them. right? Here's an opportunity to be able to talk about that, as well as make sure that we are able to document all of that. One of the things I'm learning from the several chapters that I'm managing right now is the documenting part. I'm feeling like there's a bit of a hesitation or a roadblock to documenting your work. So if you're really struggling with that, let's have a conversation, because if you don't document it, it really doesn't exist. I think that's the rule of thumb. So we want to make sure you have clear objectives defined. So what's the work, right? What does it look like? And what's the purpose? Is there a need? What's the need? Who's going to meet the need? So ask yourself all of those questions to really define the objective. Use the templates that we've created. I do know my colleague Allison Tidwell is here. She'll put some things in the chat to make sure that you all have access to the PMI chapter marketing portal, because all the resources with PMWB were all thrown or put or placed in that marketing portal, so you can all be able to move forward your social impact PMWB work through those resources. We also have seen that chapters succeed when they collaborate. Please collaborate. If you feel like you don't have the superpower or the manpower to work by yourself with an NGO, reach out to your neighboring chapter, reach out to us, and let's make sure that you're being supported and the work is moving forward as well. And again, document the work, because it allows us to recognize you and recognize the work and share best practices. We also want to make sure that you're reporting this work. I do know that I constantly am receiving the question, hey, what is this chapter doing? What is that chapter doing? Carol, how many volunteers in sub-Saharan Africa are working on social impact? Sometimes I don't have answers to that because I don't know unless you share it with me and you document the work. So simple process that we've created for PMWB chapters to apply into the way they work, or PMWB chapter social impact project. So when you take on an NGO project, here's basically a one pager that you can use as your roadmap. So as a chapter, define, right, what that issue, roadblock, pain point that NGO has, and why are they asking you to solve it, right? Is it project related, or is it more of a community related? So really ask yourself that question. That's your initial engagement. The NGO can either come through your own chapter volunteers, or it can just be an NGO that found you on Google, LinkedIn, or somewhere like that. Second phase is to really develop that PMWB project team. So if you have a social impact coordinator and you have another person who's eager to lead another initiative within social impact, you can designate that individual as your PMWB project lead, or you can basically also make sure that you that you align maybe some of your student club volunteers into this space as well. Connect with the NGO, make sure you're taking notes and documenting the work that you're doing with them, because again, it just allows us to know what work you're doing and how we can support that, and making sure that, again, I'm going to keep saying the word document, all aspects of your work is documented, so that we can make sure that we're following the work that you're doing, supporting your roadblock, but also this is how best practices are shared across the regions, across the globe, and within our global opportunities as well. So this is where I think I stopped listening to my voice, and we're going to talk a little bit about best practices of PMWB, right? So we've gone over, right, what does it look like? What does PMWB look like in your social impact portfolio? How do you work a social impact initiative? What are some of those areas? Why does PMWB care about working with NGOs? And how does PMWB fit into the overall strategy of social impact and PMI Next? But I also wanted to make sure that we highlight some of those best practices that are doing this work. So I'd like to pass the mic over to my colleague in presentation, Colin Sayoto, to introduce himself and talk about some of the best practices that we've seen across the region. Collins?
Thank you very much, Carol. For those who we didn't meet at the summit in Rwanda, my name is Colin Sayodo. I'm a PMI member in the Kenyan chapter, and I've been a member for the last 6 years. I started as a social impact coordinator, sorry, a liaison, performance liaison volunteer. Then I became a social impact coordinator, and now I took over from my predecessor label, uh, the Sub-Saharan team social impact lead. Next slide, please. So in terms of our bandwidth in the chapter, these are the chapters that we've identified that they are social impact coordinators. For Benin, I think I'm coordinating with the president, but all the others in black, these chapters have the coordinators. So for a chapter like DRC, we're still engaging the leadership that they can quickly, before the end of the year, recruit a social impact coordinator. As my colleague Carol had indicated, that if you engage in the Project Managers Without Borders initiatives, then the chapter also stand a chance to be eligible for an award. So apart from the PDU and getting visibility from the chapter, I think it will be very important that we coordinate well and we move together. So I'm working closely with the chapter leaders, the presidents to be specific, so that we can onboard the social impact coordinators. And I'd want to recognize Marie, the chapter president in Mozambique. Mozambique is a very young chapter, but when I met the chapter president in Rwanda, and I persuaded her to even attend some of the sessions that Tim and Julia were conducting, she was able to understand what this new movement of how Project Managers Without Borders operate, and she was very swift to onboard. So Maria, thank you very much. So I'm still looking at the other chapters like Namibia and Niger, so that we can have social impact coordinators. Otherwise, these other chapters, we are all sorted in terms of a specific contact person. So just to put the name to the faces, this is the team, the amazing team from the Sub-Saharan team. And for the chapter leadership, especially the president, I want to thank you very much for identifying your best in terms of passion, in terms of giving back and coordinating to see Africa can rise up as one. As Ike said, from my experience, we are not competing as the team from Sub-Saharan Africa, but we are collaborating and we are working together so that we can make an indelible mark towards our impact in the social impact. Next slide, please. So I will highlight two examples where we have had engagement under the Project Managers Without Borders. I will start with Nigeria. So Carol had mentioned that we had two main value streams, the way we work under Project Managers Without Borders. The first one is the global stream, and the other one is the chapter stream. So when my colleague Adekemi had made a request that we can consider to review the Nigerian chapter, it came up as a chapter stream, only to realize that it was bigger than a bread box, and now it was escalated to be a global. So we were not only looking at how maybe the Nigeria chapter can benefit from this engagement, but then we escalated it to the global, and we are working very closely with the project managers without borders under that, because we realized that there are several chapters and under the Child Cancer International. And one thing that maybe our colleagues may not know is that Adekemi, who is my colleague from Nigeria, is also a child cancer survivor. So in terms of, her passion to make an impact in also a community, we thought of working closely with her. So she's the lead in that. So about the Childhood Cancer International, it was established in 1994, and it's one of the global patient support organization for the childhood cancer. And one thing that I could resonate with the way she was reasoning is that, especially in Africa, we do not have like a database where we can say maybe the percentage of the childhood survivors from Africa, but the other regions like Europe, there are well-established systems which can, monitor some of these survivors and see how they are doing and also take care of them. So we are working with them under the global scheme. Some of the areas that we had identified from the global team is that they came up with a scope of service where we're going to develop a strategic plan and a roadmap for the Child Cancer International survivors. So this strategic plan is for 2026. And some of the key objectives was to define the priorities, timelines and responsibilities. So apart from Adekemi, we will also look at expanding her bandwidth so that she does not carry the load alone. As Team Swan had used the analogy of the one house with the two chambers, that is the PMIF and the PMWB, would want a scenario where we can divide and conquer so that they can share the load, as other volunteers will be focusing maybe on the PMIF side, then the other team can also be allocated this particular role under the PMWB for the Child Cancer International SDG. So we are looking to achieve two SDGs. That one is for health and partnership for goals. Yeah. Next slide, please. So the second example is the one that I'm currently also attending the summit here in Mombasa, Kenya. And this is for the Football Foundation for Africa, where the Football Foundation for Africa is a non-for-profit organization, and they do not have, let me say, a qualified project manager or a certified project manager. And they have been working with the PMI Kenya. So this example is to encourage some of the chapters. You may have been working with other organizations or non-for-profit organizations. So this is one of the examples that you can align, as Carol had indicated, the ways how we can engage these non-for-profit organizations and define the objectives on how best we can help them, and even see how best we can place the value streams we can and work with them. So Eda Baraza is a volunteer from PMI Kenya, and I must confess that Eda is not a sports person, but her capability of managing projects, they were able to see value. You can see the other team members. There is a mental specialist, there is a sustainability person, but Eda was taking charge of this particular team and turning their intention into action. So she was recruited from the social impact team through Linda Machoka, and she was responsible for this particular project. Next slide, please. These are some of the speakers. Sorry. So these are some of the speakers. I think I said chatted the Ghanaian president this afternoon that I met the Minister of Sports, and I even took a photo op opportunity with him. So you can see some of the speakers were also coming from South Africa, Cameroon, and we were able to network. So apart from these organizations that we work with, especially the non-for-profit organizations, we are trying to diversify and look at other areas that we can also make impact with. So in terms of rugby, in terms of soccer, if you know any of these non-for-profit organizations or academies that are in the umbrella of non-for-profit organizations, which are a low-hanging fruit for the chapters, then we welcome that we seek to collaborate with them. Next slide, please. So some of the benefits for both Kenya and Nigeria is that it can increase visibility by the fact that this event was hosting the Ghanaian Minister of Sports, and I can see the Kenyan team has already published what transpired to them. You see, in terms of engagement and attaining the sustainable goals, then it gives them more visibility. And we hope that this could be one of the good flus that many other chapters can catch, and so that we can work together in terms of making impact and meeting the sustainable goals. Then we are also looking at it in terms of brand awareness. When we have our teams who are certified project managers, they may not have a hands-on experience in terms of their maybe normal work, but we place them into these roles and they get experience, they get to network. It will be a brand awareness for the PMI and the brand and the strategy for the PMWB. And they will also be able to see value. I think one of the things that Carol had also earlier mentioned to me is that some of our volunteers can also use their experience in the Project Managers Without Borders and put it in their CVs. So because they were project managers between 3 months, 6 months, or 9 months, so it is something that you are like on at work for that particular organization. Then it can also increase membership engagement, just to to support also the brand awareness. So many members will find satisfaction, and I like it when they say that now we are not looking at the triple triangle. We are looking more. We are looking at the more. So many members will find satisfaction if they are engaged not only on the social good, but in the Project Managers Without Borders. So you can claim PDUs, and most importantly, I pray that many chapters will stand out to gain recognition from these engagements. Next slide, please. Yeah, thank you for your time and listening to us. We are here to engage you and work with you. And these are my contacts. If any of you would want to get in touch with me, that's my email address, and that's my WhatsApp number. At your convenience, I'll be available. And if you know of any organization that may have got a larger footprint in Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa for that matter, like we are looking like Ashoka, which have got a bigger footprint, not only in Sub-Saharan Africa, but all over the world. So these are some of the organizations that we would want to work with. So if you've got any suggestions, either through your social impact coordinators or the contact details that I've provided here, I'll be more than happy to work with you so that we can work together. Up to that point, I say thank you very much, and I will take it back to Carol and welcome any questions or clarifications that you may need from our end. Thank you.
Awesome. Collins, you're amazing. This is the reason why I work with him because he knows all of you, he knows your region, and he also is an amazing volunteer, right, from our local Kenya chapter. And he has been able to really help me and help us amplify the work of social impact within your region. So without Collins, we would not have some of those best practices stories that you've shared. So let's keep working together. Let's keep framing them as well. So a couple of, again, best practices that you can take this page and implement this into your chapter when it comes to supporting a social impact PMWB initiative, right? And that's the term that I want everybody to start using. When you say social impact, you're talking about PMWB, PMIF again, and the work that you're doing. And basically, it's making sure that you are able to document the work that you're doing. So if you want to be spotlighted in conversations like this, we need you to document the work that you're doing. We also want you to leverage your chapter meetings. So take these presentations and share them in your chapter meetings, share them in your monthly calls, share them in your newsletters, and also share the work that you're doing in your social media, anywhere where you really can amplify your brand. Because again, it's amazing that you all are doing so much great work. You're putting in the hours, but sometimes it's hard for us to see that and be able to capture that to recognize you. We want to make sure that you're also being recognized and recognizing the work that you're doing. Anthony, Nelson, and team often have these internal conversations about what chapter should we recognize, Carol? What chapter can we highlight, Collins? Like this is your opportunity to, again, elevate your skills in the work that you're doing. Engage, right? And diversify how your volunteers can engage. So if some of your volunteers really love working with NGOs, then maybe they're the right fit for supporting your PMWB work. Or if you have a student club and they really want to get that hands-on project experience, what an amazing opportunity. And also, don't recreate the wheel. We have templates for you. We have PowerPoints for you. We have talking points for you if you need those. Those are highly available in our PMI marketing portal, or reach out to Collins or myself, and we'll be happy to connect you with that. Also, I get asked a lot, how can I make it to chapter of the year, Carol? So here's the one page that can get you a visibility into being recognized at by following these simple steps. And then also making sure that the simple page of call to action, you understand that when we have these conversations with this, because we are holding you accountable to make sure that your work is visible, that your work is documented, that the conversations are still moving forward. So after this presentation, I want to know, how did you improve? How did this help you? How can Collins help you? How can I help you? How can Anthony and Nelson help you? So that, again, we keep showcasing the amazing work that's happening, and also making sure that you understand that you don't have to recreate the wheel, but that the resources are available for you to elevate your chapter, your impact, and the amazing social impact work that you're all doing. And that is all I have for today. Any questions, comments, thoughts, suggestions? Adiola, hi. Adiola, did you have a question?
Hello. Hi,
Hi.
everyone. I just want to say a big thank you to Carol, to Collins, to the team for this amazing, amazing chapter sharing session. It's been really great. So I'm
Yes.
not asking a question. I'm just trying to say thank you, and I'm sure everyone else feels the same. So I'm not trying to end the meeting. I just wanted to make sure that I take the moment to say thank you. Thank you,
Well, thank
guys. And thank
you.
you for
Thank you so
everyone that
much.
joined as well. All right, back to you.
Really appreciate that. Somebody from Kenya has their hands up. I can't see the chat.
Yeah, thank you, Carol. It's Linda here from Kenya. I
Linda,
think
hi.
the presentation has been well done, and I think we've understood very well the concept of PMWB, and we're looking forward to take off. What I've noticed is sometimes we have gotten opportunities to partner with corporates, not necessarily NGOs or nonprofits, but not the corporate itself. Like, for example, maybe an airline, but they have a department that handles social good or CSR community opportunities, and they will want to partner with us. So my question is, in such opportunities, it could be a construction company, it's a profit-making construction company, but it has got a social good arm that deals with probably feeding school children, having medical facilities for the community and stuff. Will that apply under a PMWB initiative, or since it's not a fully NGO or fully profit, then it could be an issue? That's what I wanted to get clarification on.
No, that's a great question. So it's never an issue if the chapter wants to partner with an entity that has a CSR activity, because remember, you as a chapter can partner with any entity you want to partner with. How you would turn an initiative like that into PMWB would be that you make sure that the request is documented, that the work stream is documented, and that there's a timeline where project management is going to be implemented. So if the CSR, let's say the organization wants to feed children, the focus of feeding the children would be your chapter activity. The PMWB work would be if project management is used to plan how many children will be fed, how are they going to be fed, where are the resources going to come from. So again, implementing that project mindset into the process in order to gain feeding the children as an outcome. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. The only I just needed to know, because I wanted to know the line between profit making and non-profit making.
Correct, Linda. Yeah, and there's some profit-making organizations that have a social impact heart and a social impact mindset. And this is why Collins and I would be happy to support you to kind of figure out where that line blurs and where does PMWB begin. So if you want to set up some time with us to have that working session so we can outline it, happy to do that, Linda. Thank you. Claudia, I think
Hello.
you have your hands up.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Claudia Matoso from PMI Angola. What I want to know is about PDUs. You said that we can claim our PDUs. I don't know how can I claim my PDUs about the PMWB. A part of it, I want to know how about frequency. How can we report our activity about the PMWB? Because in this time, I'm working with two non-profit organizations, which is Ochiva and Geostratos. I had the opportunity to share to Collins. So I want to know about frequency. How can I report my activity?
Claudia, thank you for that conversation. So, yeah, let's get together, you, myself, and Collins, and have that conversation. And then when it comes to reporting your PDUs, I'm going to add a slide to this deck before I share it with everybody on how you can report your PDUs. And I'm sure Anthony and Nelson can also help support that conversation as well. There's a website where you can go and self-claim your PDUs. But we also want to make sure that when you're claiming PDUs for the PMWB work, it's because you have documented every activity, meaning you put it in notes or you created a PowerPoint about it, but that is fully documented so that when you claim that PDU, you can align it to the talent triangle. So we can connect on that, Claudia, so we can make sure you're aligned with that. Okay. Somebody else has their hands up. Is it my Gachi?
Yeah, Mohammed Magachi. Mohammed, are you able to unmute yourself? Yeah, it
All right.
seems. Yeah,
We'll
maybe
catch up
Mohammed,
with
you can
Mohammed.
post on the chat if you're not able to unmute yourself. All right, then. So it seems Marigachi is not able to unmute himself. Okay, Godfrey, last question. Godfrey?
Yeah, thank you, Anton. Thank you, Carol, for the presentation. Mine is a kind of clarification. When do we start the process of the PMOW? Because we have some NGOs that we've been partnering with, and maybe they want to initiate a certain projects. Do we initiate the project from the scratch, or it's an ongoing project that is supposed to be recorded in a project management without borders?
Guthrie, great question. So your projects with an NGO should have a lifeline of 3 to 6 months. So you look at what is the requirement of the project, what is the pain point you're trying to solve. And again, just document it as though you were working as a project manager for that NGO, and then making sure that you have a timeline for the outcome that's being requested. Or if the project is longer than the 6 months, again, making sure that you're documenting why would it be longer than 6 months. So basically, you're initiating the project with our support and our resources as well. And how it gets documented with Project Managers Without Borders is connect with Collins, connect with myself, Anthony or Nelson, and let us know what is the project, what's the timeline, what's the outcome, what is the impact for your chapter, right? It is a chapter project. So how does it benefit your chapter? And then how do we make sure we elevate the visibility to the work so that it is acknowledged that your chapter is moving forward with PMWB as well. And we're happy to connect with you, Godfrey, so we can have a working session around that as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Anthony, I think we're wrapping up.
Yes, we are. So once again, thank you very much, Carol, Collins, as well as Alison on the chat option. She's been sharing a lot of resources. We really, really appreciate. To our chapter leaders, we've actually shared email for Carol and also for Collins on the chat option. Feel free to reach out to them, just copying me, Nelson, and Mimi, so that we can also support in terms of the engagement. With that, we've come to the end of today's meeting. Thank you very much to all who attended. Have a great evening. We will be sending you an email with the presentation and the video recording. Great evening to everyone. Thank you and bye.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye,
Good
bye. Have a good
evening.
evening. Bye.
Bye.